We are live, Doktora.
For joining us today. Salamat po for joining us. My name is Doc.Ano York Bondoc. I am a pulmonary specialist, an internist, wife of Mayor J, and a mom. And we're here to talk about the medical word of the day, letter D. Ngayon, marami pong pumili ng dementia, dialysis. Actually, diabetes is another big D word. But today, we'll talk about drug testing kasi it's quite controversial. Dati po, we used to use it for the licensure. So, and then there mga issues din po ng mga taong gumamit ng drugs uh, during parties, yung mga namatay. So, it's something that's quite interesting po. And of course, it is a medical word, and it's something that doctors and we use. Nire-request din po yan also one used for medical investigation and forensic investigation. Ano po yung forensic? Usually by pathologists, usually ginagamit po sa mga crime scene, ganun po, mga namatay, mga suspect. So, yun po yun. So, I would like to invite everyone to please put their questions below. We promise po, babasahin po namin yung mga bati nyo at saka po yung inyong mga tanong, and we will project them and do our best to answer them. We accept po questions on drug testing. And kung labas po sa topic, wala naman pong masama to put it down and we will try our best to answer it. Yesterday, ang topic po natin was CBC. Kung gusto niyo pong humabol pa rin, pwede pa rin po. Okay? I'd like to invite everyone. We have a YouTube channel called Doc.Ano York Bondoc. And dun po namin linalagay yung mga replays. We're also live on YouTube. Please subscribe and follow us sa YouTube kasi po we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. So sa inyo pong lahat, a very good morning and let's start on drug testing. So ano po ba ang drug testing? Well, drug testing is conducted po by doctors, by police investigators, by your job, to look po for the presence usually of illegal drugs. No, meron naman pong hindi illegal, that's another kind. Usually, tinetest po natin ang ating urine, blood, saliva, and even hair. Okay? Karaniwan pong the reason for drug testing is to test po nga po for illegal drugs. But yes, you can also test for a wide variety of medications and drugs. Okay? So, pangkaraniwan, let's go na lang po doon sa illegal. Usually, ang tinetest po talaga ng drug testing is marijuana or cannabis. Yung mga opioids po, that includes codeine, morphine, ganun po, no? Fentanyl, amphetamines, including methamphetamines and shabu, cocaine, steroids, and PCP. That's also another kind of drug. Okay? So, ano po ba yung mga reasons that you would be asked to take a drug test? Well, marami na po ngayon talaga, it is required for employment. A lot of companies do require before employment at meron pa pong ibang spot drug testing. We also know po that drug testing is now a big issue in sports medicine. The Olympics po nagde-drug test. Yung mga world-class athletes po before competitions, they do drug testing. And they also do po random drug tests for sports events. Okay? Again, for legal issues, we also do drug tests like yung mga suspect po, were they under the influence pag may nangyari pong mga krimen. Also for the dead persons, where they using drugs. So yun po yung inaalam po ng mga pulis, mga investigador, mga NBI, and forensic pathologists. Okay? And sometimes we watch this on TV, nakikita po natin sa mga investigasyon po. Again, if your doctor naman ho, nagpa-check up kayo and you are showing signs and symptoms of drug abuse, kakaiba na po yung personality nyo, they might notice dilated pupils, quick change po in behavior, and of course, yung history and physical exam nyo po and talking with your relatives, your doctor may order a drug test. Kung kayo po ay naka-rehab, And they want to know po if you are following the terms of the rehab. You may be required to take a drug test upon entry and repeated drug tests po during your stay in the rehab. And pag pinauwi na rin po kayo, you might be asked to take a drug test to find out if you're following po the terms of your release from a rehab facility. And dati po, we used to request po a drug test for the LTO licensing. Okay? So ano po yun? I mentioned, no? Urine, blood, saliva, and hair. So puntahan ho muna natin yung blood. The blood po, yun po ang tinatawag po nating gold standard, and they will extract blood po from you, send it to the laboratory. In the Philippines, I have never done a blood drug test, pero in the US po, lalo na kung minsan sa ER, it would take us time. It can be done, it's more expensive, and it is time consuming. Pero ginagawa po ang blood-based drug testing, and yun po yung pinaka gold standard o yung pinaka valid po talaga. But in our setting po, and usually sa mga employments, kailangan po natin na mabilis so we tend to use urine drug testing. In the Philippines and throughout the world po, the urine drug test is the most common kasi po ito po yung pinakamura, ito po yung pinakamabilis, and very convenient po to administer. Hindi po iihi lang ho yung tao. Then usually there are test kits po. You don't really need a big laboratory. And once you're negative po doon, pwede na pong umuwi. If you are positive from a urine drug test, most likely po, they will do a confirmatory test or what we call po gas chromatography. Medyo malalim na po yun, wag na natin puntahan. But they do a chromatography to confirm po if you are really positive. So paano po ito, no? Ano bang tinetest sa urine? Is it the drug itself? Ang sagot po is no, they don't test the drug itself in your urine. Ang tinetest po nila is metabolites. What is the meaning of metabolites? Okay, and why urine? Well, majority po ng substances po na kinukuha or if we ingest po or if we inject, most of it talaga is metabolized. Ano ba metabolized? Broken down, excreted, linalabas po sa katawan through our urine. And that's the main function po of the kidneys, which is to process po waste in the body. And ito pong mga drugs, bini-breakdown po ng ating kidney and lumalabas po sa ating ihe, yung tinatawag pong metabolites. So it will not come out as pure cocaine, pure opioids, but yung breakdown products po or what the kidney broke down para ilabas po sa katawan at yun po yung madadetect sa atin pong urine. So we won't detect the pure substance itself, but we will detect the breakdown products or metabolites. Okay? So, ano po ito? Mabilis. There are test kits. It's painless, hindi siya masakit. And mabilis lang po siya talaga. Okay? So, they usually do an assay po. There are also test kits, as I mentioned. And they use po what we call cut-off levels. Ano po ang meaning ng cut-off level? Ang meaning po nito is we use cut-off levels to distinguish po kung talagang kasi po we can have small like minute levels sa katawan natin. It's not really zero. And then sometimes we are also using over-the-counter drugs, maybe eating poppy seeds, ganun po. So we might actually have a low level of the metabolites in our system. Pero the cutoff level is supposed to detect po talaga yung frequent, yung talagang drug use versus false positives po from regular substances. That includes nga po poppy seeds If you guys watch Seinfeld, merong issue na nag-positive po sila because they were eating po poppy seed bagels. Okay? So meron po, the urine test is not perfect. Meron pong false positive. Sinasabi pong positive po kayo sa drugs pero actually hindi. Upon which po they will do a confirmatory test. There's also po the false negative. Gumagamit po kayo ng drugs pero hindi po ma-pick up ng po. Sometimes people pour water into the urine or drink a lot of water para ma-dilute po yung kanilang urine and mababa tuloy yung level and hindi ka umaabot sa cut-off level. So, yun po yun. So, how would you take a urine drug test? Okay? First of all, bibigyan po kayo ng ng request. So, nakalagay, urine drug test. So, the night before po, susuriin po talaga, hopefully, and they will ask you po, no, while you're taking the urine drug test, are you taking any prescription drugs? Are you taking po any over-the-counter medicines? Are you taking po any supplements, including herbals? Kailangan pong malaman yon, and you will be asked to write that down, okay? Or if you ate anything na unusual. And then, the day before po, actually most people like yung first ihi pero sometimes it just happens at time that you will go to the lab, okay? Most people request po na you have to be there. Kumbaga, you have to do the urine test in the facility. Kasi ayaw na po nila yung isasubmit nyo na lang po yung ihi. Kasi napakarami na pong cases na hindi po yung ihi nila yung sinubmit. So, would they follow what they call the chain of custody? Ano po yon? It's to make sure na yung ihi po na sinubmit ninyo during your drug test is really yours. So that is to make sure na accurate po yung drug test, and para sa inyo po, safety nyo rin ho na yun po yung ihi nyo talaga at hindi po nakahalo po sa ibang tao. So usually po, it's quite, medyo strict nga po sila. And they really put a CR lang po talaga for you guys. And then, kung minsan po yung lab tech, hahatid pa rin po talaga kayo sa CR to make sure po na kayo po yung magsasubmit po ng urine sample na yun at wala ho kayong dala-dala in your pocket. Okay? So that is what we call a chain of custody. And then, bibigay nyo po dun sa tech, and then the tech will run it. So nagkakapirmahan din po who received it and why. So yun po, very important. That is called the chain of custody po ng ating drug sampling. And then, if you are negative, okay na po yan most of the time. If you are positive, then they run another test just to make sure po. They run a more formal test po just to make sure na talaga po kayong positive. Okay, so issues po about the urine drug testing. And I think a lot of people know this already. Unfortunately po, mabilis po mag-pick up yung urine eh. If you have taken the drug, it will really pick up quite quickly. Ang masama po is hanggang 3 days po. People usually ask me, Doktora, how valid po is the test, no? Unfortunately, or talaga pang nag-negative po ba talagang negative? Okay, 2 issues. Okay, number 1, 48 hours po that you do not take a drug, or sabihin na po nating 3 days, 7 days, yung tinatawag po nilang drug holiday, hindi na po talaga madedetect yun ng urine. Kahit po talagang addict na addict kayo, pero tumigil po. Actually, also, this is true, the amount of drugs that you've ingested prior to the time of the testing will also determine po how long should be the drug holiday bago maging negative po yung inyong urine test. What do I mean by this? Kung madalang lang po kayong uminom, like, or gumamit po ng drugs, just 3 days, wala na pong madedetect. Okay? Pero kung kayo po ay talaga pong malakas pong gumamit ng drugs, opioids, methamphetamines, or whatever, up to 7 days po, madedetect pa rin ho yun because of the amount of drugs in your system. So yun po yung masama about the urine drug test is that just stopping for 2 days, 3 days, magiging negative na po yung blood test nyo. Another issue ho, which is common to all drug testing, is the knowledge po that you're going to have a drug test. Kaya po sa mga sports, random po yung mga drug testing. Darating na lang po sila sa lugar nyo, and then you will be asked to provide a sample. Kasi nga po, people know that if you're gonna have a drug test po, say on Friday, Monday pa lang ho, yung mga gumagamit, hindi na po gagamit. So by the time Friday, negative na po yung kanilang urine. And those po are the disadvantages of the urine drug test. It is fast, it is very affordable, hindi po siya masakit. Pwede ho tayo mag-chain of custody from the CR to the tech. But again, if you have not been using drugs for 48 hours, your urine drug test will be negative, and they will not be able to pick up po if you have been using drugs in the past. or if you will be using drugs in the future. No test can tell us that. Okay? So, um, dito po yung another way po of detecting drugs, which is called the hair testing method. Hair, buhok. Okay, very unique po ito. And I learned about this because I did po a prior newspaper article on drug testing. Nakaraabot pa po ako ng NBI. I was interviewing po the NBI. Pinakita pa po nila yung kanilang gas chromatography machine. It's a chemistry machine. And the NBI po has a lot of drug testing equipments. So anyway, kunento po sa akin yung hair testing method and I learned about this, okay? So what is unique po about hair and why do we test hair? Kasi po, drugs travel in our blood, okay? And blood nourishes, and dumadaan po, no? And the hair follicles is nourished by our blood. So, dun po sa hair follicles natin, meron pong drug residuals doon po in our hair. I know it's weird, but it has been proven po, no? 90 days, up to 90 days po, yung buhok po natin, if we have used drugs in the last 90 days, lalabas po sa ating buhok. And this is used abroad. I was told before that they don't really do po hair testing in the Philippines. I don't know po in the present kung meron. Pero abroad po pwede. So, ang masama lang po sa hair testing, first of all, it's more expensive. Number 2, it's not widely done. Number 3, it takes 7 days. What's the meaning of 7 days? Halimbawa po, you took the drug on Monday, na next Monday pa lang ho yung lalabas sa buhok nyo. Halimbawa, binunutan ko kayo ng buhok, and I sent it through the lab, it will take 7 days. So, if you use, sa urine po, mabilis eh. The moment you take the drugs, lalabas talaga sa urine. Sa hair po, 7 days before it will come out. Pero pag lumabas na po yung 7 days na yun, it will persist naman po for 90 days. Okay? So 90 days po, yung ating metabolites or it will remain in our hair. So it is expensive. And again, pag negative po si hair test, you can write negative. Kung positive po ang inyong hair test, then you will have to undergo future testing. How about for dead persons? Kami po in the US, gumagawa po kami. We used to extract blood po from a dead person and pinadadala po sa laboratory. But again, it takes time po. It really takes time. Sa amin po, it took about a week eh. And after that, hindi po namin, kasi I'm not a forensic pathologist. We just submitted it na lang po to the pathology lab. So it can be done. So what can I tell about drug testing? First of all, siguro the better thing is not to use drugs, And again, remember that drug testing is not the end all and the be all. Kasi po, number 1, kung urine po, people can just stop using drugs. And again, drug testing, just like COVID testing, is just a moment in time. After the drug test, after the hair test, after the blood test, hindi na po natin alam kung ano po ang gagawin ng tao. And so, just because you're getting a drug test doesn't mean that you're drug-free forever. It just means that for that moment in time, nung na-test kayo po ay negative. So, sa inyo pong lahat, I hope we learned a little more about drug testing. It's actually an interesting topic, very controversial also, and something that sometimes we might have to undergo. So, sa inyo pong lahat, there's no need to fear if you haven't taken any drugs. Most likely po, the test will be negative. So sa inyo pong lahat, a very good afternoon. Thank you so much. Hi, Ma'am Avelina. Good morning.
From Miss, yes po, from Miss Avelina. From Miss Laling Taguco. Hello, Doc.
Hi, Ma'am Laling.
We have a question. How about dead persons po? How do we know if they took drugs? Magandang question, Dr.
Alam mo, medyo maganda nga yan kasi ang daming ang daming issues talaga na people were using drugs and then they died and then they had an overdose, ganun po, no? In the Philippines, I never had, kasi I was trained in PGH, so I never had the opportunity really to extract drugs from persons kasi mahal yung testing eh. And talagang a battery of tests yan. In the US, we did that. We did take blood tests, and then ang ano lang talaga, hindi siya simple. We work for a big hospital already in the US. They really have to send it out to an outside laboratory. So yes, what I could say is, and usually, syempre, alang naman umihi pa yung patay, hindi pwede yun, ano. And we do not get from the Foley catheter. At least I have never done that. Wala rin po ako nasabunutan na dead person. Though, meron po kami usually, kasi in the process kasi of CPR, di ba we extract blood kasi we want to find out yung potassium, ganun po, no? Usually, kahit na-pronounce na, yung boss namin will say, sa amin ang tawag doon is tox screening eh. Toxicology screening. Okay? So, usually, pinapahabol nung ER or nung boss namin, pa-toxicology screen. Well, I trained in the US, so they would say, please run a tox screen. So, yes, we do run a tox screen and it can be done. It takes time and it is expensive. So, yun. Ikaw ba, Rains, nakapag-tox screen ka na? Rare sa Pilipinas yan.
No, I didn't have any chance to kasi during, alam ko lang, kaming mga nurse, hanggang post-mortem care lang kami. With the screening, it should be supervised.
Hindi talaga ginagawa. Oo. Yes.
Supervised talaga siya, and only doctors and certified doctors can perform that. Actually, pinagagalitan kami ng mga hindi namin, Doc. Pinagagalitan kami pagka we have to only do post-mortem care, and that should be supervised by another doctor or in the presence of an NBI person. If it is it is suspected as parang may
medical legal.
Yes. Tapos pinagagalitan kami kasi we may alter the evidences plus the condition of the patient. Yun po. Pero totoo po,
sa amin din,
ganyan. Yun po, doktora.
Yan. So, sa akin sa Pilipinas, I have never done that. Abroad, nagawa ko na. And it takes time and it is expensive.
Parang, doktora, hindi yata yan best practice dito sa atin. Parang, di ba?
Parang hindi ginagawa eh. Actually, dapat nga rin siyang gawin kasi, for example, kamag-anak mo yung dead person, you might want to know, alam mo namang hindi gumagamit, tas ang daming chismis na lumalabas. Sometimes it's actually good na paran nyo yung tox screen kasi kawawa naman po yung reputasyon ng namatay.
I think sa US, kasi I'm also watching yung mga crime series, no, sa Netflix. I think sa US, pagka suicide person, that is suicide.
Yun.
Po siya. Yes. Yun po.
At saka we also run that sa mga suspect, parang suspect namin na overdosage kasi with every overdose iba yung treatment. So it's we need to know ito lang kahit hindi namatay sa amin sa mga overdosages, we need to know kung ano po yung ininom nila. So we run that. Sa Philippines, meron tayong poison control. It's not very often done. And I did not make my residency in the Philippines, so I really can't talk much about that. Pero sa US, we did run tox screen. Tox screen ang tawag dyan sa Amerika. Kasi nga, halimbawa hindi namatay yung tao, kailangan naming malaman kung ano yung ininom niya para makabigay kami. Though merong protocol ang ER na standard na binibigay na parang antidotes. There is. Like Narcan, we give that for suspected opioid overdoses. There is a ER protocol. So, yun lang. Sa amin, ang tawag doon, tox screening. Yun. Mahal yun. Yun lang.
For Mr. Armando Manlapas, kamusta po, doktora?
Sir, I'm okay. Thank you for asking. I'm just busy po with Valentine's Day kasi po I do own a flower shop which I inherited po sa nanay ko.
Another question from our viewers, what if may menstruation po? Makaka-affect po ba? Ay, doktora, magandang tanong to, very controversial.
Yeah, ako rin eh. I tried to research on this. Ako siguro sabihin ko sa inyo, no, kung wala naman din need na magpa-drug screen, maghintay ka na lang ng wala ng mens, 'di ba? And then, pero kung halimbawa talagang yun na yung araw na yun, ilagay nyo po menstruating. So at least they know. I really don't know the exact answer for this. Baka maiba lang ho yung kulay ng urine nyo, yun pa yung isang issue. But I would definitely write this down kasi you can write information that they need to know. When you take a drug test, please put all the medicines that you're taking para po pag may tanong, wag nyo na hintayin na magka-problema pa. Unahan nyo na po. You can also put menstruating. Yun po yun. That's what I would do.
From Mr. Winshin Kin. Hello, Doktora.
Sir, how are you?
From another viewer. How long pa valid ang drug test?
Alam mo, magandang tanong din yan eh. Kasi hindi ko rin nahanap yung sagot. Pero sometimes kasi people are walking around looking for employment with a negative drug test. Then pagtingin mo 2 years ago na yon. Wala akong I'm not a lawyer so I don't really know po yung validity ng drug test. Pero para rin itong validity ng COVID test Reyna. Kasi okay, naka-negative drug test ka. And let's just say you are a drug user and you are smart. Okay, so you heard there was going to be a drug testing in your company on, say on Friday. So narinig mo, Monday, nag-stop ka na. Okay? So Friday, negative yung drug test mo. Saturday and Sunday, masyado kang maligaya, gumamit ka na naman. So what's the point of the drug test? Diba? Hindi na siya valid. Parang COVID test, no? It's really that moment in time. I do not know if there is a legal, how long valid po yung inyong drug test. But for employers or for everybody else, just because someone's getting a negative drug test, well, that's good, But it does not say anything po talaga about their character or suitability or whether they are even using drugs or not. It just meant po that at that moment, no drugs were detected in their system. Yun lang. Whether they use drugs the day after the test, hindi na po natin masasagot yun.
Yes, I believe also on
diba?
that. Yes.
Kung gusto mo, sabunutan mo para may 90 days ka.
The hair follicle, yan din, isa pang issue yan, Doktora. Very controversial ang hair follicle. Ako question, Doktora, gaano ka-effective ang hair follicles?
Very effective. Very.
So, mas maganda,
more effective than urine.
Mas maganda na gawin
ng it's pretty good. Actually, nabasa ko to sa mga, di ba may mga poisoning? Yung tinatawag po nilang chronic poisoning. Kung minsan, tinitingnan din yung buhok. At saka sa mga secret agents, ganon. Sa buhok din po. Pwede.
I see. Kaya naman pala, pati di ba yung mga drugs na like medication, pwedeng makita from hair follicles? Tama
pwede,
po ba? Okay. Ganun pala siya effective.
90 days kasi kung kayo naman biglang pag may nagpa-drug test sa inyo, walang kilay at walang buhok, be suspicious. Okay?
Oh my God. Oh no. Miss Sonia. Paano kung wala talagang kilay yung tao? Diba? Miss Sonia Hernandez. Hi po, Doc. Ano po kaya gamot sa laging may plema at minsan ubo po?
Wala ho You just have to find out bakit po. Looking at this, it sounds like allergies to me. Kasi parang yung plema, maybe postnasal drip, and then slight cough. Again, but then that also can sound like chronic bronchitis. Kasi ang chronic bronchitis or COPD, ang daming plema po nun na linalabas and parating may ubo. So, iba po yun So, mahirap pong sabihin kung ano po yung gamot kasi we really need to find out a temporary diagnosis and then work from there. So, my advice po dito, magpatingin. And then find out the history. May history ba ito of long history of smoking? So talagang mapapoint po tayo sa chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Or talagang seasons of the year po. So then we would be pointing towards allergies. Kung allergies naman po, then we would do a trial po of anti-allergy drugs. Maybe like 3 weeks or something. So yun po yun. So mahirap ko pong sagutin kasi I don't know po yung yung reason. And kailangan po ma-explore pa po yung tao with a history and a PE.
From Miss Punsalanger Gem, hello po, Doktora Congresswoman, watching in Barangay Hall, San Miguel, San Simon.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, Kapitana. Kumusta po kayo? At yung mga kasama niyo po dun sa Barangay Hall. And the Kagawads, hi, Maya Paugtu po.
From Mr. Eddie Ogana, he is watching.
Sir, how are you? Opo.
From Miss Almine Emerito Blessed, morning po, Madam.
Hi po, good morning.
From Mr. Bernardino Sampang, good morning po, Doktora.
Sir Bernardino, how are you?
From Miss Levy Manuit, watching po.
Hi, Levy. Kumusta ko ayo?
From Miss Anne Macalino, wow, good AM po, Doktora.
Wow, also, Ma'am Anne. Thank you. Tiga-palit si Ma'am.
From Miss Mirna Lakatan, watching to your discussion right now. Helpful, Doktora, ang mga topics mo.
Yes, Ma'am Mirna. Actually, nag-break lang ako ng konti sa COVID kasi parang napagod din ako sa COVID. I think everyone also, there are lots of diseases. Babalikan po natin ang COVID. Do not worry because after all, pandemic pa rin po ngayon. Thank you for finding this. Sometimes it's nice to discuss something different lang naman ng konti.
Doktora, meron lang din akong i-request, no? So, gawin din natin kaya yung topic na i-discuss mo dun sa guesting mo. Yung what happened after a year of pandemic? How are you? What changed?
Yeah, I'll be giving the grand rounds po sa sa Jose Bilingad Memorial Medical Center. That's the 1,000 bed government hospital po in Pampanga. And our topic po is COVID and 1 year after, paano po nagbago ang buhay ng mga babae. This is in celebration po of women empowerment and International Women's Month, which is March. I'm trying to find the thyroid speaker kasi I found out that it was goiter week. Okay? Meron ba interested sa goiter? Ako, I'm not a goiter expert, so I'm going to try and find someone this week who wants to talk about goiter. Maganda yun, ha?
Yes, ako, Doktora, maganda din yung mga topic na hindi naman masyadong, ayaw naman natin kalimutan. Pero
hindi naman natin pwedeng iwanan yung COVID kasi pandemic eh. Kaya lang, it's sometimes nice also to learn about other topics kasi hindi lang naman po COVID ang sakit po ng mga tao. There's a lot of diseases, a lot of tests, a lot of medical information that is not being imparted po in an easily understandable manner. So yun po yung malaking bagay sa akin, yung easily understandable but remains scientific.
From Miss Marianne F.A. Mabuti, hello, Doctor. I hope you are doing fine.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Salamat for that nice greeting.
From Miss Mirna Lakatan, good and happy morning.
Hi, ma'am.
From Miss Rimel Lumbatan, Anito, hair follicle test for drug test, matagal daw yun mawawala yung drug sa katawan.
Ma'am, 90 days. 90 days.
From Miss Ella Ritz.
Kaya lang, it's not widely used in the Philippines. Hindi po siya widely used. And at the time that I asked the NBI po, they did not have it in the Philippines. More likely po, blood pa tayo eh. Opo.
From Miss Ella Ritz Marie, good morning po, Doc.
Hi, Miss Ella. From San Fernando, Pampanga.
From Mr. Juancho Larin, how about sciatica, doktora. Sciatica.
Ano po yun? That is ano po, sciatica. The
Sciatica.
pronunciation po is sciatic nerve. Opo. That is the nerve going down your leg. Sakit yan ah. Ano po yan eh, there's a specific test for sciatica. I am not an ortho or a rehab. And I hate back pain. Sorry. Diyos ko, inamin na no, I hate the workup for back pain. Why? Kasi everyone in the US just came na lang po with back pain. Ang sciatica po, naiipit po or nagkakaproblema po yung ating sciatic nerve that runs po behind our leg. There's a specific test po, tinataas po yung paa and then flexing the foot. Pag masakit po yung sciatic nerve. Masakit yan. Siguro po, I don't really know the details. Maghahanap ako ortho kasi talagang hindi ko po ano yan, pero masakit yan. That I can tell you.
From Mr. MC Kagungun. Makagungun. Hello po, Doktora. Stay safe po. Watching from San Simon, Pampanga.
Parang ang daming tiga San Simon ha. Thank you po, Maya Paguto po.
From Mr. Juancho Larin. Yes po, Doktora, sa spinal.
Yes, that is true.
From Miss Beth Taruk, sorry. Good day po, Doktora Ana.
Hi, Ma'am Beth.
That's all that we have for today,
So, yun na. Thank you, everyone. Happy Friday. Salamat po. Monday, I'm inviting you. 4 o'clock, diabetic retinopathy po. Or bakit nabubulag ang mga taong may diabetes? Ang ganda ng tanong. With Dr. Nicolo Agustin, a retina specialist and an ophthalmologist. So Monday po, 4 o'clock, that's February 1. Thank you so much.